I'm not sure if I actually escaped that motel, or if it simply let me leave. People say that when you experience something traumatic, your brain tries to make sense of it. It fills in the blanks, changes details, protects you from the truth. But I remember every detail of that night, every sound, every face, every smile that didn't quite look human. And the worst part? When I checked out the next morning, the motel clerk told me something that made my stomach drop. He said, "Sir, you were our only guest last night. My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a freelance photographer. Most of my work involves documenting abandoned places and forgotten towns across the United States. Old gas stations, collapsing barns, ghost towns, places time has left behind. It's the kind of work that takes you down a lot of empty roads. And in late October of last year, one of those roads took me through a stretch of Route 66 in northern Arizona. I'd spent the day photographing a decaying mining settlement about 30 miles off the highway. By the time I finished shooting, the sun was already starting to drop behind the desert hills. I planned to reach Flagstaff before midnight, but somewhere around 9 p.m., my GPS lost signal. At first, it wasn't a big deal. Route 66 is mostly straight. Just follow the road. But then the temperature started dropping fast, and the wind picked up. The desert at night can feel enormous. Endless darkness, no houses, no lights, just miles of empty road. About an hour later, I realized something else. My fuel gauge was almost empty. That's when I saw the sign. A flickering neon arrow pointing toward a small gravel road. The sign read, Sunset Valley Motel, vacancy. And beneath that, in faded red letters, since 1954. I hesitated. Something about the place felt wrong. The neon sign flickered in uneven pulses. The gravel road looked rarely used, but my gas tank was nearly empty, and I needed somewhere to sleep. So I turned in. The motel looked like it had been frozen in time. 6 small rooms in a straight line. A single office building at the end. Dim yellow lights glowed above each door. My headlights swept across the parking lot. There were 3 other cars parked outside the rooms, which immediately made me feel better. At least I wouldn't be alone. I stepped into the office. A small bell rang above the door. Inside, the room smelled faintly like dust and old carpet. Behind the counter sat an elderly man watching a tiny black and white television. He looked up slowly. Evening. Room for the night. I nodded. Yeah, just passing through. He handed me a key attached to a large plastic tag labeled Room 3. As I signed the register, I glanced at the previous entries. The last signature above mine was dated 1998. I frowned. Do you not get many guests? The man smiled faintly. Oh, we get visitors. Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. Room 3 looked exactly like every cheap roadside motel you've ever seen. Faded carpet, a rattling air conditioner, a bedspread with a floral pattern that probably hadn't changed since the 70s. But there was something else. The room felt cold. Not temperature cold. Just empty. Like a place people passed through but never stayed. I dropped my camera bag on the chair and collapsed onto the bed. After a long day of driving and shooting photos, I was exhausted. But sleep didn't come easily. Because about 20 minutes after I lay down, I heard someone walking outside my door. Slow footsteps, back and forth along the walkway. At first, I assumed it was another guest. But the footsteps kept pacing. Back and forth for nearly 10 minutes. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I opened the curtain slightly. A man stood outside room 2, just standing there, facing the door, completely still. He didn't knock, didn't move, just stared. I watched for almost a minute. Then something happened that made my stomach tighten. The man slowly turned his head toward my window, like he knew I was watching, and he smiled. I stepped back from the curtain immediately. My heart was pounding. Maybe he just happened to glance my way. Maybe it meant nothing. Still, something about that smile felt wrong. Too wide, too slow. I tried to shake it off and went to the bathroom to splash water on my face. That's when I heard the second sound. A woman laughing, not normal laughter. It sounded empty, like someone imitating the sound of laughter without understanding it. It echoed down the walkway outside. Curious and now slightly uneasy, I opened the door. The dessert wind rushed past me. Two figures stood near the ice machine, a man and a woman, both smiling, both staring directly at me. I forced an awkward wave. Evening. Neither of them responded. They just kept smiling. Then the woman tilted her head. "Are you staying long?" I shrugged. "Just tonight." The man beside her leaned slightly closer and whispered something to her. Then they both looked at me again. Their smiles widened. Good. Then they walked away, still smiling. Back in my room, I locked the door. Now the place felt different. Not quiet, watching. I turned on the television to distract myself. Static filled the screen. No signal. That's when I heard the sound again. Footsteps outside. More than one set this time. Several people walking slowly past my room. And whispering. I moved toward the door. Their voices were soft but excited, like people discussing something important, or someone. Then one voice said something that made my blood run cold. "Is he the one?" Another voice replied, "He arrived late." And then a third voice said quietly, "We'll see." The footsteps stopped. Directly outside my door. Silence filled the room. Then 3 slow knocks. I didn't answer. The knocks came again. Slow, patient. Then the woman's voice from earlier spoke softly through the door. "Daniel." My heart stopped. I never told them my name. "Open the door. We want to welcome you." Another voice whispered, "He looks strong." A third voice said, "Maybe he'll last longer." That's when I realized something. The register, the old signatures, the motel clerk's strange smile, the empty desert highway. This place wasn't just a motel. It was a trap. I grabbed my keys and camera bag. The window looked out onto the back of the motel. If I could reach my car, I might get away. The voices outside the door grew louder. More people had joined them. At least 5 or 6, whispering, laughing, waiting. Then the doorknob slowly started turning. I didn't wait. I climbed through the window and dropped onto the gravel behind the building. The dessert air hit me like ice. I sprinted toward my car. Behind me, the door burst open. Voices shouted. Footsteps chased me across the lot. I jumped into my car and slammed the door. The engine roared to life. As I backed out, my headlights swept across the motel. And I saw them, all of them, standing outside their rooms. At least 12 people, smiling, watching me leave. And none of those smiles looked human. I drove for nearly 30 miles before I stopped shaking. Eventually, I reached a gas station outside Flagstaff. When I told the clerk about the motel, he looked confused. Sunset Valley Motel? Yeah, back on Route 66. That place burned down in 1999. I laughed nervously. That's not possible. I just stayed there. The clerk slowly shook his head. No, you didn't. He turned his monitor toward me. A local news article appeared on the screen. The headline read, "Mysterious Fire Destroys Desert Motel to 12 Dead." The date was October 17, 1999, exactly 24 years before the night I stayed there. I tried to forget about it, convinced myself it was some strange roadside hallucination. But a week later, while reviewing my photos from the trip, I noticed something. One of the images I took outside the motel that night. In the window of room 3, there was someone standing behind the glass, watching me take the photo, smiling. And the worst part, it wasn't one of the guests. It was me.